Hi, boys and girls. This is Mrs. Pearson, your elementary ELL teacher. Today we're going to do the informative retell for first grade journeys, lesson 4, and our anchor text is Lucia's neighborhood. So for this lesson, we're going to turn and talk, and that means I'm going to ask you questions about the text. You're going to think about your answer. Then you're going to pair up with a partner at home. If you have someone you can talk to, I encourage you to talk to them about the text, or you can pair up with me and be my virtual partner. And then you're going to share your answer and thinking out loud and say it out loud in a complete sentence or sentences. So let's think, was Lucia's neighborhood fiction, which means literature or a story? Or was it nonfiction? Did it give us information? This one's kind of tricky. So fiction means made up and nonfiction means true facts. So Lucia's neighborhood was actually true facts. It's about a real person named Lucia, and it gives us information about her neighborhood. However, it kind of reads like a story, and we'll talk about that on the next slide. Now, for fiction, you usually read it in order or sequence. For nonfiction or informational text, you read in any order. Literature entertains readers when you're reading the story, and informational teaches readers. Literature uses illustrations or drawings, whereas informational text uses photographs or pictures, real pictures. Um, Literature has characters and setting, which means who is in the story and where does it take place. And like I said, Lucia's neighborhood is kind of like a story, but it's a true story. So it does have characters and a setting. But usually informational text has text features, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So with fiction, you have problems and solutions. Um, Lucia didn't really have a problem in the story, so that's one reason why it's informational text. Fiction tells a story, sometimes animals can talk, and it has a beginning, middle, and end. Now, Lucia's neighborhood does kind of have a beginning, middle, and end because she goes through her neighborhood starting with her soccer game. However, fiction stories also have a beginning, middle, and end. Nonfiction or informational text also has text features, and Lucia's neighborhood definitely has text features. It doesn't have a table of contents, but it has photographs and headings. It doesn't have a chart or diagrams or labels or captions, but it's still informational text. Informational text may also have, let's see, index and glossary. Index and glossary. Index is in the back. It has words and tells you where you can find those words on what pages. And a glossary, it has words, vocabulary words, and it tells you the definition of the words and where you can find them in the story or in the text. So Lucia's neighborhood is kind of like a story because it does follow a sequence, but it is true. So they call this a genre not only informational text, because we did learn information about Lucia's neighborhood, but we call it narrative nonfiction. It tells a story, but it's true. A narrative nonfiction is a selection about real people like Lucia's neighborhood. Selection about real people, things, animals, or events. These selections are told by a narrator and follow a sequence. So, like I said, this tells a true story, a real person, Lucia, and it follows a sequence. Narrative nonfictions can have real photographs and captions, which Lucia's neighborhood has real photographs. Let's review our vocabulary words. So do you know number 1? Neighborhood. A neighborhood is the people who live in an area and the places around them. Neighborhood. Number 2, street. A road in a city or town. Street. Number 3, car. A machine with 4 wheels and an engine. People travel in cars. Number 4, plant. A living thing such as a flower, tree, or bush. Plant. Number 5, pants. Trousers, slacks, or jeans. Pants. 6, goal. In soccer, you score a goal when you kick a ball into the net. Goal. Number 7, firefighter. A person who works in fights to put out fires. Firefighter. 8, librarian. A worker in a library, which is a place where you can borrow books. Librarian. Number 9, bakery. A store where you can buy things like bread, cookies, and pastries. Bakery. Number 10, pet shop. A store where you go to buy supplies for your pets. Pet shop. Number 11, garage. A place where you take your car to get fixed. Garage. Number 12, home. The place where you people live. Home. All right, so now that you have those vocabulary words fresh in your mind, let's do our learning target. I can tell the main topic and key details of the text Lucia's Neighborhood using pictures and words. And I can listen and take turns when I'm having a conversation about the text. You're going to listen to me when I ask you questions, and then I'm going to give you a turn to say your answers. If you have someone to talk to at home, you can talk with your partner about the questions as well. So, success criteria means how will you know you're successful at retelling the main topic and key details of the text, Lucia's Neighborhood, and how will you know you're successful at listening and taking turns while having a conversation about Lucia's Neighborhood? Well, just like these people are climbing this mountain, we're going to climb a learning mountain. Our goal is to reach the learning targets at the top, and here's our steps to success. So I will, number 1, the first thing we're going to do, I will answer the talk about it questions. Number 2, circle the author's purpose of the passage. The author's purpose is as easy as pie. That's our acronym. P for persuade the reader, I inform the reader, or E explain or entertain the reader. Number 3, write, say, or match what the text is mostly about. What's the most important thing about Lucia's Neighborhood? 4, we're going to write, say, or match 1 to 2 detail sentence to each retelling picture. And then we're finally going to write, say, or match what the author wants us to learn. And that's related to the main idea. It's also related to the author's purpose. So let's review our turn and talk rules. Number 1, I to I, knee to knee. If you have a partner at home, make sure you're looking at them. 2, first one person talks, the other person listens. 3, the next person talks, the other person listens. So if I'm your only partner, make sure you listen to the questions and then talk when it's your turn. 4, do not talk too long on your turn or your partner will not have time to have a turn. When I say something or when your partner says something, you may agree. That means yes, you agree with what they said, and you would say, I agree with you because, or you may disagree, and you may say, I disagree with you because, and tell me why. So here, we're going to look at the picture, and this is one of the first key events in our narrative nonfiction. So think if you were to reread the text, you'd find it on pages 100 and 101 in the Journeys textbook. Who is in the picture? What's going on? So number one, what is Lucia doing on the field? What is Lucia doing on the field? And what does her team get when they win? So you can say Lucia is, and then finish. And when they win, they get. So say Lucia is, when they win, they get. Go. Well, Lucia is playing soccer. And in fact, the text says she scores a goal. And when they win, they each get a medal to hang around their neck. Number two, look at this picture. Think, what are they doing in the picture? Where are they in Lucia's neighborhood? And you can find more information about this if you reread page 102 in the Journeys textbook. So our question is, what items or things can Lucia and her mom get at the bakery? What items or things can Lucia get at the bakery? So in your answer, at the bakery, Lucia and her mom can get, and then finish your thought. So say it out loud. At the bakery, Lucia and her mom can get. Well, if you look closely at that picture, Lucia is eating a churro, I think. So at the bakery, at the bakery, Lucia and her mom can get pastries and sweet treats, baked goods like a churro, a muffin, a croissant, a donut, fun things, sweet things like that. So number three, you look closely at the picture. Who is in the picture? What's going on? Where are they? The setting. So you can reread pages 103 to 108 in our Journeys textbook. And number one, the question is, what does Lucia do at the firehouse? What does Lucia do at the firehouse? And how do firefighters help people? So what does Lucia do at the firehouse and how do firefighters help people? So we're going to answer, Lucia tries, and firefighters help people by, so say it out loud, Lucia tries, firefighters help people by. Well, you can tell by the picture, Lucia tries on pants that firefighters wear, but they're way too big for her, and that's why she's smiling and laughing. And firefighters help people by going to houses or buildings that are on fire and they put fires out. They also help people if people get sick or injured. They come to your house and they work like emergency medical technicians and they'll come in and get you and make sure that you get to the hospital safely. Number two, what other people and places does Lucia visit in her neighborhood? What other people and places does Lucia visit in her neighborhood? Remember, there's many places she went. So think about, where does she also go besides the bakery, the soccer field, and the firehouse? Lucia also visits, tell me at least two more places she visits. Think about our vocabulary words too. Those are some clues. Lucia also visits. Well, if you remember, Lucia also visits a garage. That was one of our vocabulary words. Visits a pet shop. Lucia also visits a library because she visits a librarian and gets a book. So there's lots of places, and she also visits a plant shop. So she visits a lot of places in her neighborhood. So look at the last major event or detail in our text. Where is she and what is she doing? So you can reread page 109 in our Journeys textbook to find more information. And our question is, where is Lucia? How does she feel and why? So look at her face. She's holding her plant. Where's Lucia and how does she feel and why? So Lucia is, and she feels, so give me a feeling word. She feels blank because, and tell me why. So say it out loud. Well, you remember our vocabulary word home. Lucia is home at her house. She feels, I think looking at her face, she feels happy because she got to visit a lot of different fun places in her neighborhood. She went to the bakery, the library, the firehouse. She even got a plant and she's holding it in her hand. So let's review why did the author write the text Lucia's Neighborhood? Why did they decide to write this book or narrative nonfiction? So it's as easy as pie. So the author wrote the text to persuade. P means persuade, and persuade means to convince the reader of a certain point of view, to convince them. Did the author write the book or the Lucia's Neighborhood to convince everyone that Lucia's Neighborhood is the best and you should only live in Lucia's Neighborhood? Or did the author write the book to inform? Inform. And inform means to teach or give information to the reader. Did the author write Lucia's Neighborhood to teach us more about neighborhoods and what is in a neighborhood? Or did the author write the book to entertain? And that means to hold the attention of the reader through enjoyment, like tell a funny story about Lucia's Neighborhood. Was there a problem? I know there were characters, but was there a true problem? And did they show the problem get solved? Well, let's review. Main idea. We talked about the main idea. The main idea is what a text is mostly about. Look at the titles and pictures. So the title was Lucia's Neighborhood. We looked at mini pictures, real pictures, and we looked at headings. Sometimes the main idea is in the first and last sentence of the page or of the paragraphs. And look for clue words repeated over and over. So we're going to do the retell of Lucia's Neighborhood. So finish these questions. The author wrote the text to persuade the reader that Lucia's Neighborhood is the only neighborhood and the best neighborhood. Or the author wrote the text to inform the reader to give more information about what's in a neighborhood. Or the author wrote the text, Lucia's Neighborhood, to entertain the reader with a funny story that had a problem and a solution. So, why did the author write the text, Lucia's Neighborhood? To persuade, inform, or entertain the reader. This is tricky because we were also entertained, but mainly the author wrote the text to inform, give more information about what's in a neighborhood. It wasn't a funny story, but it did kind of tell us a story, but there was no true problem. So it gave us information of what kinds of things are in a neighborhood like Lucia's neighborhood. So we all live in different neighborhoods, but neighborhoods have certain things in common and different things as well. So it's mostly about what you can see in so Lucia's Neighborhood, it is mostly about what you can see in a what? What you can see in a bakery, what you can see in a firehouse or on a field, Or is it mostly about what you can see in a neighborhood? You're right, it's mostly about what you can see in a neighborhood. So we're going to talk about the conclusion because in class, I usually hand out these two strips and you cut out the main idea and what the author wants us to learn. So in conclusion, the author wants us to learn about what did the author want us to learn about? It's like the main idea. The neighborhood. In conclusion, the author wants us to learn about a neighborhood, Lucia's neighborhood. So here are 4 details or facts that support the main idea. Here are 4 details or facts that support the main idea, and those are the 4 retelling pictures we've already talked about, so you already know these. First, what can you tell me what's going on in the first picture? So say it out loud. First, Lucia plays soccer on a field. She scores a goal. There's our vocabulary word. So did you say something like that? First, Lucia plays soccer on a field. She scores a goal. So what happened later? What's another detail in Lucia's neighborhood? Second, what, what's going on in the second picture? What's a second detail about Lucia's neighborhood? Tell me out loud. Second, second, Lucia and her mom get a treat at the bakery. And notice there's our vocabulary word, bakery. And at the bakery, she gets a baked churro. And bakeries also have things like donuts and other sweet baked goods. All right, let's look at the third picture. Tell me out loud, what's going on in the third picture? What can you tell me about this in Lucia's neighborhood? Well, third, the firefighter lets Lucia try on some pants. So remember the word firefighter and pants? Lucia tries on those huge firefighter pants. And fourth, what's the last detail we learned about Lucia's neighborhood? Fourth, say it out loud. Well, fourth, at the end of the day, Lucia goes home. She is happy. All right, so at the end of the day, Lucia goes home. She is happy. So I'm going to reread this. Retell of Lucia's neighborhood. The author wrote the text to inform the reader, give us more information. It is mostly about what you can see in a neighborhood. Here are 4 details or facts that support the main idea. First, Lucia plays soccer on a field. She scores a goal. Second, Lucia and her mom get a treat at the bakery. Third, the firefighter lets Lucia try on some pants. And fourth, at the end of the day, Lucia goes home. She is happy. So, in conclusion, the author wants us to learn about a neighborhood. So, let's reflect on our learning. And just like Winnie the Pooh and Tigger are looking at their reflection, let's reflect on your learning on yourself. I can tell the main topic and key details of the text, Lucia's neighborhood, using pictures and words. Would you give yourself a 4? And 4 means I could teach this lesson. I was able to answer all the talk about it questions and complete the graphic organizer. 3, I was able to answer most of the questions and complete the graphic organizer, or say it out loud. 2, I was able to answer some of the questions and complete some of the graphic organizer. Or 1, I had a hard time completing the graphic organizer or saying things about the text and answering the questions. Let's think about our participation. How well did you hit the target by following class expectations or our rules for behavior? 4, 3, 2, or 1. 4, I'm an expert. I was fully engaged in trying. 3, I'm a master. I was mostly engaged in trying. 2, I'm an apprentice. I sometimes tried. Or 1, I'm a novice. I had a hard time participating today. All right, boys and girls, we are done with our lesson. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Have a great day.